Hi sewing friends, welcome back to my sewing room. Just like to say thank you very much if you subscribed recently. I've had quite a few new subscribers. I'm getting ever nearer to 1,000 subscribers, which is really quite exciting. And thank you also for all the lovely comments I've had. This is a bit of a catch up really, because I've had a little bit of a gap, a bit of a family drama because my dear husband broke his leg about 2 weeks ago. But I'm pleased to say that it's very much on the mend, quite surprisingly. That's been the reason for my little gap. I've also had a couple of false starts when it comes to what to do next. I've got a lot of ideas in my head, and I did have an idea to start a Swedish quilt, and the starting point of it was going to be some applique and embroidery, emulating some lovely china that my friend owns and I really love, and I actually started trying to do it and I couldn't actually do it, and it's very hard for me to accept that I can't do something, because sometimes if I put my mind to things I can do them, but I really was struggling and I wasn't enjoying it. And bear in mind, this is my favourite hobby. I didn't want to get too frustrated with it, so I'm not giving up completely, but I've decided to shelve it for now. So I went out today to the fabric shop, and I'm wearing a new skirt which I have just made this afternoon. Now I could have made it in about an hour, but it took me longer because I was trying to film it, but I got in such a pickle trying to film it that I decided to actually just make it. And I'll tell you what tutorial I followed. It is Dana from Made Every Day, and it's her stretchy pencil skirt tutorial, and she just shows you how to make it. It's basically a tube. You know, you get a knit fabric, stretch fabric, you make a tube and you shape it at the top and bottom, and you make it, you measure your own measurements, and it's very simple. You can literally do it in an hour. So that's what we're doing this afternoon. But the other reason, the main reason for going to the shop, was to get some new quilting fabric. So I bought myself a new quilting square, and with the Swedish theme in mind, after the frustration of not being able to do my Swedish applique without it looking really stupid, I actually found this lovely piece of fabric which does have a kind of Swedish feel to it, as does this one. And so I got some mixers to go with it. Now, after me telling you that I don't buy fabric to cut up to make quilts, I actually have. So the first one I showed you, this is going to be a panel in the middle. I'm going to make that like fussy cut into a panel in the middle, and I'm going to make a frame quilt. And I've got lots of bits, and I'm inspired by my book, which has gone for a little walk. The person has made a lovely frame quilt with a real sort of coherence to it, and that's what I'm going to try and do. So I'm going to start it today, so I hope you'll enjoy watching. So it definitely feels good to have made a start. Got the initial frame done and the centerpiece. So what I'm going to do now is have some patches made with 2.5 inch square. There's 2.5 inch squares to go around the edge. So I'm going to make those first. And I actually don't know whether the amount of the distance here across my frame is going to be an appropriate distance for a multiple of these squares. And I've deliberately not measured it, because if I start trying to measure it and work it out, which I'm perfectly capable of doing, but then it starts to feel a little bit like a maths lesson, and then this isn't a maths, you know, I just want to enjoy myself. So I'm just going to make the little squares and then worry about the next stage later. So the way to make these is to have one colour in the middle. So you need three 2.5 inch squares. So choose one colour for the middle and another colour for the outside. So you need one of these, two of these, and the two for the outside cut in half diagonally. So start by attaching one. Now you're supposed to mark the middle, so I am eyeballing it. And then 1/4 inch seam allowance down here. So press these first. So I'm going to press it towards the point. And press that one towards the point. I'm going to do the other ones. I'll square them all off, trim them all off later. Now that I've got going, I think I'll assemble them ready to sew and I'll chain piece them. So I've made a few of my little squares now. I haven't neatened them off yet or anything like that. Just wanted to explain a little bit about how I make quilts. The last one I did that was a video was a very scrappy quilt. So it was very much make it up as you go along. I'm trying to make this quilt a little bit more having a form and a design, and I'm inspired by this book, and in particular this quilt, where although the design is quite scrappy in a way, there is a kind of uniformity across the quilt, which is something that I want to achieve. So I am planning it out a bit better than I normally would, certainly going by the ones I've made in recent years. But I doesn't mean I get a pen and pencil out and start calculating squares and things like that, because to me, that once you've done that and you've planned the entire quilt, which I know some people do and that's how they prefer to work, I don't like working like that, because to me, once I've planned it and I've cut everything out and I've done it, then sewing it together, however leisurely that might be done, to me that feels like work. It feels like a task rather than something that's relaxing, and that is why I sew and make things, is as a relaxing pastime. So I like to have a bit of a plan, but I like to kind of also sort of make it up as I go along. This quilt's a bit of half and half. So I realise that not everybody will want to work the way that I do, but I just thought I'd better explain a bit of that. So I'm just seeing how many of these I'm going to need, basically, and I have no idea if it's going to be a multiple. This distance is a multiple, but it'll be something like it. I'm going to just see how this is going to look. Get these out of the way. So I don't know, but I think by the time they're sewn up, they will be about the same as 4. 4 will be about the same as that length. So this is 12 by 12. These are 2-inch strips. I'm using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. If you want to copy me, you can learn along with me if you want. But I'm just showing you what I'm doing. This is the only way I want to do quilts. I don't, you know, I've done my wavy quilting and things like that, and I like experimenting, but in terms of like the actual creative process, I like doing it like this. So I'm going to need, I might introduce another pattern, but I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the seam allowance there. I'm just showing you this is how I would measure it out now to work out how many I need. I'm imagining that's the seam allowance. I mean, I don't know if this is how other people do it or not. This is how I do it. So that's going to be there. It's going to be there, 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 there. So I'm going to need, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'm going to need about 20 of these. And at the moment I've got 3 or 4 in each pattern, so I'll do another double this batch, and that should be enough. I should have enough to play with. I hope you've enjoyed this stage of my quilt. I'm feeling really pleased. I'm starting to get excited about it now, and I'm feeling really pleased that I started it. What I like about this is that I'm using up some really small pieces of fabric that I've got left over, and I have bought fabric to use, but it's so that I can use up the small bits. I think I might have said in a previous video, this is how you end up with lots of bits, and then you buy more bits to use those up, then you end up with those leftovers, and this is how you end up carrying on making quilts. So it's fun though, isn't it? I think that has a Scandi feel to it, so I'm starting to get quite excited about this quilt now, and I'm looking forward to making more progress with it. So I hope you'll follow it in the next videos, and I hope you've enjoyed this one.